Think about the last time a single moment of rage completely rewrote your day. Maybe it was a careless comment from a coworker, a sudden cutoff in traffic, or a text message that felt like a sharp slap in the face. In that exact microsecond, a hot spike of adrenaline flooded your chest, demanding that you strike back, defend your honor, or scream at the world. But if you trace the wreckage left in the wake of that outburst, you quickly realize a devastating truth about human nature. Nearly 2,000 years ago, the Roman emperor and philosopher Marcus Aurelius perfectly captured this hidden trap when he wrote, "How much more grievous are the consequences of anger than the causes of it?" When you stop to really look at those words, they stop being ancient philosophy and turn into an intense mirror for your modern life. What he meant is profoundly simple, yet we ignore it almost every single day. The thing that made you mad in the first place, the traffic, the insult, the mistake, is rarely the thing that actually breaks your life. The true, lasting damage comes from the storm you unleash in response to it. The spark is tiny, but the fire you burn the house down with is entirely your own creation. When we allow anger to dictate our words and actions, we are essentially drinking poison and expecting the other person to get sick. The title of our modern condition is clear: your reaction is infinitely more dangerous than the problem itself. If someone disrespects you, that is a reflection of their character, a temporary problem that will pass in a few minutes if left alone. But if you react by screaming, breaking a relationship, or making a reckless decision, you have just created a permanent consequence for a temporary emotion. You have allowed a passing shadow to dictate the trajectory of your entire future. We convince ourselves that our anger is a shield, that it protects us from being weak or being walked over by others. In reality, anger is not a shield at all. It is a wildfire that consumes the person holding it long before it ever touches anyone else. Every time you fly off the handle, you are handing over the remote control of your emotional state to the outside world. You are telling the universe that anyone can pull your strings, disrupt your peace, and force you into a state of chaos. Why do we willingly give away our power to the very things that hurt us? Why do we compound our own suffering by burning down our internal sanctuary just because someone threw a tiny match? The psychology behind this survival mechanism is deeply rooted in our biology, but in the modern world, it has become our greatest liability. We are living with ancient brains in a highly connected, deeply stressful environment, and the mismatch is breaking us. If you have ever felt the sickening knot of regret in your stomach after an angry outburst, you know exactly what this feels like. You know the heavy silence that follows a word you can never take back. You know the exhausting drain on your mental energy that leaves you feeling hollowed out and completely defeated by the end of the day. Feels like an automated response, a switch that flips inside your mind before you even have a chance to think. But psychology tells us that there is a quiet, sacred space between the stimulus and your response. In that tiny space lies your ultimate freedom, your power to choose who you want to be in the face of adversity. When you surrender that space to blind rage, you are choosing to let the problem win. You are magnifying a minor inconvenience into a major life crisis. Let us look closely at how this plays out in our everyday relationships, the places where anger cuts the deepest. Imagine coming home after a long, exhausting shift, your mind already redlined from stress. You walk through the door and find a messy kitchen or a chore that was left undone. The cause of your potential anger is small, a few dirty dishes that will take 10 minutes to clean. But if you allow the monster of rage to take the wheel, the consequences explode. You yell at your partner, you alienate your children, and you fill your home with a toxic tension that lingers for days. The dirty dishes were never the real danger to your family. The real danger was the emotional wreckage left behind by your choice to explode. Weeks from now, no one will remember the dishes, but everyone will remember the way you made them feel. They will remember the coldness in your voice and the anger in your eyes. This is exactly what Marcus Aurelius was trying to warn us about across the centuries. He saw empires fall and lives ruined not by external enemies, but by the internal betrayal of uncontrolled emotion. He understood that the moment you lose your temper, you lose your mind, your dignity, and your competitive edge. In modern psychology, we call this an emotional hijack. It occurs when a primitive part of your brain called the amygdala completely bypasses your logical mind. It floods your system with cortisol and adrenaline, preparing you to fight a physical predator that does not exist. Your heart races, your muscles tighten, and your vision narrows until you can only see the threat. But your coworker is not a saber-toothed tiger, and your spouse is not an invading army. Treating them as such is a massive evolutionary error that costs you your peace of mind. When you are in the grip of this hijack, your intelligence drops, your empathy vanishes, and your capacity for rational thought goes completely dark. You become a passenger in a vehicle driven by your darkest impulses. And the worst part is that society has conditioned us to believe that expressing this anger is healthy. We are told to let it out, to vent, and to validate our feelings at all costs. But modern psychological research shows that venting anger does not relieve it. It actually reinforces it. It deepens the neural pathways of rage, making it easier for you to get angry the next time around. Every outburst is a rehearsal for the next one, training your brain to become more volatile, more reactive, and more fragile. True strength is not found in how loudly you can scream or how sharply you can bite back. True strength is the absolute mastery of your own internal state when everything around you is spinning out of control. It is the ability to look directly at chaos, feel the heat of the spark, and choose to remain completely unmoved. Think of the people you admire most for their composure and authority. They are never the ones throwing tantrums or demanding respect through intimidation. They are the ones whose silence carries more weight than any shout ever could. They are the ones who understand that their peace is far too expensive to be bought or broken by someone else's bad behavior. When you master this perspective, your entire relationship with reality shifts. You stop seeing provocations and start seeing opportunities to practice your own resilience. You begin to realize that when someone tries to make you angry, they are offering you a test of your personal power. If you get angry, you fail the test and give them exactly what they want. If you remain calm, you retain your power, protect your peace, and elevate yourself above the conflict entirely. But how do we actually bridge the gap between knowing this truth and practicing it when our blood is boiling? It requires a complete restructuring of the way you view the behavior of other people. When someone cuts you off in traffic or snaps at you during a meeting, your immediate instinct is to take it personally. You assume they are doing it maliciously to hurt you, disrespect you, or minimize your worth. This assumption is the exact fuel that feeds the fire of your internal rage. But if you pause and pull back the curtain, you will almost always find a deeply hurting human being on the other side. People do not spread joy when they are full of peace. They project chaos when they are internally miserable. The person who cut you off might be rushing to a hospital, or they might be so overwhelmed by anxiety that they genuinely did not see you. The coworker who snapped at you might be facing a silent crisis at home that is tearing their world apart. When you shift your perspective from personal offense to deep curiosity and empathy, the anger simply evaporates. You realize their behavior has absolutely nothing to do with you and everything to do with their own internal battle. By refusing to absorb their toxicity, you keep your own emotional slate entirely clean. This is not about being a doormat or letting people walk all over your boundaries. It is about realizing that protecting your energy is the ultimate form of self-defense and self-respect. You can draw a firm line in the sand and enforce your boundaries much more effectively with a calm, clear mind than with a screaming voice. In fact, a boundary delivered with quiet, unshakable confidence is infinitely more terrifying to a bully than a loud explosion. When you scream, you show them exactly where your buttons are and how easily they can be pushed. When you remain completely calm, you show them that you are entirely untouchable. Let that realization wash over you the next time you feel the familiar heat rising in your chest. Instead of reacting instantly, try implementing the psychological rule of the sacred pause. Force yourself to take a single, deep breath and count to 10 before a single word escapes your lips. In those 10 seconds, ask yourself one crucial question that will change your life. Will my reaction to this situation make my life better? Or will it create a brand new problem I have to solve tomorrow? If we are being completely honest with ourselves, 99% of the time, the reaction makes things worse. It extends the life cycle of a problem that should have died in a matter of seconds. You are essentially keeping the pain alive, feeding it your valuable time, and letting it rent space in your head completely free of charge. Think of how much mental energy you have wasted over the years replaying old arguments in your mind. Think of the sleepless nights spent constructing the perfect, biting comeback to someone who has already forgotten the conversation entirely. Who is truly losing that battle? It is not the person who offended you. It is you hurting yourself over and over again for their mistake. This is the hidden cost of anger that nobody talks about, the slow, steady erosion of your health and well-being. Chronic anger keeps your body in a constant state of low-grade inflammation, raising your blood pressure and draining your vitality. It ages you prematurely and robs you of the simple, daily joys that make life worth living. You deserve so much better than to live your life as a hostage to your own hair-trigger reactions. You deserve to walk through the world with a sense of lightness, confidence, and unshakable inner peace. Imagine how liberating it would feel to watch the chaos of the world swirl around you without it ever getting inside your mind. Imagine being the person who brings stability to a room when everyone else is panicking or throwing tantrums. That is the definition of true emotional maturity and personal sovereignty. It is a superpower that anyone can develop with conscious practice, discipline, and a commitment to self-awareness. Start small by noticing the very first physical signs of anger in your body before it takes over your mind. Notice the slight tightening of your jaw, the sudden warmth in your face, or the quickening of your breath. The moment you become aware of these physical changes, you have successfully stepped out of the automatic reaction trap. You have moved from being the anger to being the observer of the anger. And once you are the observer, you regain your power to choose your path forward. You can look at the anger like a passing storm cloud, acknowledging its presence without letting it rain on your entire life. You can say to yourself, I feel the anger rising, but I am not going to let it drive this car. With time and patience, those old neural pathways of rage will begin to wither away from a lack of use. You will find that the things that used to ruin your entire weekend barely even register on your radar anymore. You will look back at the versions of yourself that used to scream and argue, and you will feel a deep sense of compassion for how much suffering you used to cause yourself. Let the wisdom of the past become your daily shield against the chaos of the present. Remember that every single day brings a fresh wave of opportunities to practice this ultimate form of self-mastery. The world will continue to be unpredictable, people will continue to be rude, and mistakes will always happen. But your mind is your own sacred kingdom, and no one can enter it or disrupt it unless you hand them the keys. Keep those keys safely in your own pocket, stand tall in your calm authority, and protect your peace at all costs.